Here.
How's it
Say
going?
hello to our. Oh, it's still propagating. I think we're still running into it now. There. Now we're streaming. Boom. Yeah.
Welcome in, everybody.
Welcome. Check out this amazing demonstration for Analog Lab. I will be offering a free 3-month NFR for Analog Lab. Give me a couple days to send it to you, but go ahead and request it at the link I'm providing now. Yeah, give me one second. Let's wait for some more people to kind of jump on board here. We got 12 people in the room so far. Let's do this. Okay. 12 people. So let's introduce yourself, Hunter. Let's see what you've been
Cool.
up to lately, man.
Yeah, my name is Hunter George. I'm a music producer here in Los Angeles. I also work in music supervision and media music, like licensing and all that. I have a group that I founded in 2009 called Can One Live. So I release a lot of my stuff under that arm. And I've worked on a number of TV series and films, previously under the music supervisor John Houlihan, as well as Jonathan McHugh. Both of them have done things with the movie Deadpool or Austin Powers or Shape of Water, all the way back to like Rush Hour and Money Talks, all those movies from New Line. And so I've kind of been on both sides of the fence on the music production side and then also music for film and TV and licensing. Um, and I heavily use, as a piano player, I use Logic and am really going to get into the weeds here with both the KeyLab 49 and the Analog Lab 4. So we're going to kind of get in and see, you know, a little bit under the hood for Analog Lab and then how it integrates with the KeyLab keyboards and some of those functions. Um, so are we, you think we're good to start rolling into it?
Yeah, why not? It's 102. We've got 18 people in the room.
Cool.
Let me see here. I think we can go ahead and get started with. I think you want to start with integrating, and again, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the the chat here, and I'm responding to people's comments. But my name is Ian. I do the marketing here for the U.S. for Arturia. This is a group in which we're enabling people to kind of create a community of people to discuss things with Arturia and get some free software here and there and learn things and kind of get up to speed as far as what we're doing because we're doing a heck of a lot. Um, in the industry right now and in the MI business. I mean, just putting out softwares and synthesizers galore. If you've seen the Polybrute to, today we're discussing Analog Lab and how you can tweak all the sounds and make it yours with the integration of the KeyLab. So I'll shut up and go ahead and let you do your thing, Hunter.
Cool.
Thanks, guys, for watching.
Yeah, thanks for coming in. Again, I'm Hunter George, music producer, part of Grammy Next last 2 years ago. And so I'll put this on. I'm going to share my screen right now if you guys will bear with me, just so we can get this going. Um, can you guys hear this?
Yes,
Okay, cool. So as you
sounds
can see,
amazing.
I'm using Logic right now. This is a session that I have been working on, and I wanted to kind of show you how I've used Analog Lab in tandem with this session. What I want to do first, though, is if you guys have the KeyLab 49, mostly it's very intuitive. So once you plug it in, it really works. But if you wanted to get some of the inboard controls, like the transport control or some of the DAW commands, you're going to want to go in and set it up
Hey,
in your
Hunter, real quick,
applications
sorry to
window.
interrupt you, but it looks like a Tetris game again, or like an Atari video game. If you can stop sharing and restart
Uh,
it, restart the
yeah, yeah.
sharing, try that because it was working great before.
Yeah. Let's see if that works. How's that?
Perfect.
Okay, cool. I think
Looks
it's
good.
just gun shy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'll go from this window here for now. So what you're going to want to do is open up your applications window, or you can go through Arturia, and then there's this MIDI control center. Can you guys see this right here?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Open up the MIDI control center. As you can see, mine is already kind of synchronized. And then also another thing here is when I first set it up, there's a firmware upgrade, so you guys can also check that out in case like you Arturia product. They're usually all listed here. And then so the KeyLab 49 through 61 is here we go, and then we're using the KeyLab MkII, which is the one that's already on there too. So just be sure to kind of set that up. And then you can also do things like customize the color palettes and things like that as well. And they've already got these preset user banks, so you can kind of click and drag. So I have this template set up, and you can add new templates, or let's say you work out of Ableton or Pro Tools, but you can also kind of just select these and set up your drum pad colors and do a number of things in here. But you do want to make sure that the transport controls are working to working to that, and make sure the device settings is registered to the KeyLab MkII. So and there's a bunch of tutorials online that you can look at. And then also in your different logic formats too, as well as in the analog lab here, you can see the MIDI controller tab here, and there's a bump here. So you just want to make sure if you have like a generic MIDI controller, it'll map it to that. If you have the KeyLab 61 or the Mark II, or any of the other subsequent things that you may have that's Arturia related. So that will give you control to make sure that it's synchronizing properly with the different kind of faders and knobs and things like that in tandem with your DAW. Um, so as far as that goes, again, I think there's some resources online. I think there's a MK or KeyLab hot tips, or like tips and tricks, and
Tips and
using
tricks.
on the Arturia site, if I'm not mistaken, Ian.
Right.
Um,
Mark II tips and tricks, or any of the KeyLab tips. You want to
yeah,
type in the search bar tips and tricks, Mark II or Essential KeyLab, and they'll tell you how to route and how to sign up for every DAW. It's literally 3 steps. You
it's really
choose
easy.
for MIDI
Um,
control center. You choose Logic, and then you choose it in Logic, and that's about a done deal.
cool. And then that'll give you transport control. If you guys, can you see the keyboard camera?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So yeah, that's basically the long and short of it. I'm gonna basically break down the keyboard as well. There's a number of things. There's drum pads here. So once you set up drums, these would operate as drum pads. And as you can see here, it's a little bit light today, but when it gets darker, these colors you can customize like I was showing you in that window, and that's where you would do that. Um, as well, one of the things that's great about Arturia is, in your box, there's this window here, and it's basically, you can see here, they come with different controller magnet stickers. Basically, it's not actually a sticker; it's just a magnet, but it can set up so you can see specific to your DAW. So if you use Ableton, if you use Logic, this will be more specific. And then this right here is your transports. So stop, play, record, and loop. And once you have that set up with Logic, like I said on that Arturia hot tips and tricks, we'll kind of walk you through that. That this will now activate play and stop and record, as you can hear the click track, right? Um, So as well, you have this kind of central hub here, which is really great in terms of navigating through scrolling in Analog Lab and some of the other transports. And I'll walk you through this in a second. And then on the right side here, you have again with Analog Lab really intuitively. You almost don't really, once you've set it up in Analog Lab, like I said at the bottom right, you're going to have a number of customizing and controls that are going to work like pretty fluidly and seamlessly with all of your DAW stuff. So and then I don't know if you can see here, but essentially, well, on the bottom left, there's like a pitch and a pinch wheel and a modulation wheel, and then a octave up and down, and there's a chord mode, and then obviously you can see the keyboards here. But I really love the keyboard because it's got like a metal body, and then some like wood accents on the side here. So in terms of it being a durable keyboard, it's something that you can kind of move along, to different gigs. It's not too heavy, but it still kind of maintains shape. As far as that's basically the hardware, and then I want to get into Analog Lab.
And mind you,
And
if
I've
I
already
could
got
just
it.
interrupt you
What's that?
real quick, that Analog Lab, the full version comes with the KeyLab as well. When you purchase the KeyLab Mark II or Essential 49 to 61 to 88, they come with the full version of Analog Lab, which is like over 7,000 sounds of the V collection. So I just want to explain that real quick. Have my two
No, it's
cents
good. Yeah,
before you
it's
jump
awesome.
into the into Analog Lab
So
itself.
yeah, and you're gonna see just in Analog Lab alone, the kind of things that are under the hood and the ability to customize all these sounds, let alone the quality of the sounds you're gonna see. And another thing that we should mention is that with Analog Lab, which I'm gonna open up right now, just so you guys can see, so it's not just some static window. Do you guys see this?
Yeah, yeah, that
Okay,
looks
okay,
good.
cool. Yeah, so with this is what it looks like under the hood. Um, with this, it's actually DSP as opposed to kind of like sampled tracks, so it works a lot more seamlessly and fluidly. So because it's not recalling like audio files, so all of these are to me, they're really authentic sounds, and we'll get into. There's either piano sounds, there's vintage synthesizers, and also organs and some other things like. There's another software patch called Pigments, which it works intuitively in this as well, and I'll show you guys some of that. But that's a whole kind of another beast on its own. But we'll kind of get into it a little bit so you can see it. But we're not going to spend too much time on it. So right now I just have a piano up, and as you can see, it's this track here, number 10. Um, so it's kind of basically, and then right now I have some kind of reverbs messing around. So if you can just hear, that's what it sounds like normally with no effects. So it's just a cool kind of like grand piano. And one thing that's great with this, the way this works, so I'm going to start on the left side here, so just so you guys can get an idea. And on the keyboard, one thing you're going to want to do is hit this button here. It's a category button, and then there's a right button that says preset. So on the left, you hit this category, and it activates. And now if you look on the window, it should kind of be flowing through. So in this case, there's organs and multi. So I'm gonna hit synths first, and then that's gonna kind of worm me through, as you can see here. It has all these different vintage synths like the Matrix 12, the Mellotron, the Mini Modular, also Pigments, which is what I was talking about earlier, the Prophets, and a bunch of them. So I'm just going to hit like Jupiter and it activates it. And so what's happened in the middle is it's now taken 577 preset sounds, and you can kind of also narrow those down. by type, which you just scroll down here. All these are different types, right? So if I want to do like a lead or an organ or whatever, you can kind of, I need two of sounds there are. So it could be like a dark sound or funky. So you hit that and it goes to 34. So you banks, which that's kind of basically the left side of it. I'm gonna actually go in for now, get into how some of these sounds sound, and that's gonna be basically like all of these here. And again, you don't have to use the mouse if you don't want to. If you have the KeyLab, you can kind of do. Let's look at some pads. All these start changing based on the type, and then the right hand side you can kind of see what it's modeling after. So if I go to, let's say, big unison, you can click that in. It's a Jupiter 8, and then if I go to like three-piece song, it's all Jupiter 8 for now because I have it selected on the left here. Let's get rid of that, and let's do like the Matrix 12, right? Soda Beach. So it'll shift on the right-hand side. You can see that it shifts into in and then you can do a pad just to see what that sounds like. Get into some other things. So let's take it out of synths for a second and maybe do like organs. So you can kind of go in and just like check out some of those. So now we've got this B3. So it's like hand side about like what kind of organ it is. It's a Hammond organ, and they go into kind of like 1970s era Soul Sacrifice from Santana, and you can kind of be like, okay, this is kind of like, um, yeah, now this is a different kind of an organ, and it's got like a pad feel. So that's kind of just like the left and the right, or the left and the middle. But what I want to do is also open this beast up here on the right hand side, like who designed it and some of the other metadata that's in here, as you can see. Incorporate now opens up this new view here. Can you guys see that, Ian?
Yes, you can. Looks
Okay,
great.
cool. I just want to make sure we're still good.
Mm-hmm.
So as you can see, it really like they even have like scratch marks on the organ just to give it that kind of intuitive and also kind of like authentic to the original. So this is kind of a plucky organ sound. And then also, if you let's say you don't have the keyboard, because that could be the case, and you're just trying to figure out more about the software. All of these are like selectable, and it's almost like you're actually sitting in front of the real deal here. And same thing with this, you know. So you as well is a view where you can add all of these different stomp pedals and effects pedals as well as this bass amp. So all of that. You also see what I'm going to get into pretty heavily too is on the bottom middle when I click, and that would be, I think it's this one. So I'm actually touching, as you can see on here, kind of starts activating. You can either do it through 'cause I realize this could be a lot. And then there's even more parameters if you want to just like get real nerdy with mess around with the sounds. You can, and then the phaser phases it in different ways. Tremolo is here, and then you also have like again like the mod wheel and pitch bend. So, but I don't actually think this instrument has that. So I'll go into another instrument and show you that later. Or bass, EQ bass. We'll add some bass, some thickness to it, treble, right? And then as as you can see on the top, you can see the fader moving on top by the top right. So it really works in tandem with both, whatever you're more comfortable, how it's mapped with a different instrument.
Can I explain something real quick, Hunter?
Yeah.
I just want to bring attention to the fact that these 9 faders and 9 knobs are, I guess, more widely used controls. Everything is controllable within the synth itself, but these are some of the easiest tweaks you can do to synth. If you don't want to learn the synth, if you'd rather just stick to some of the more prominent features you can do to it, then they're right there, right in front of you. And we've processed that, and we've designed those exactly per preset, not per synth, but per preset.
Exactly.
The most coolest stuff you can do in Arturia's mind. So that was about what I wanted to express. But go ahead.
It's very like baseball stadium kind of organ. And then I'll just open up this again. I'm not going to spend too much time in this since we kind of just already went through it. But just so you can see, again, under the hood, like it's literally got the circuits and things like that that you can mess with, the tunes, um, depth. I think there's other presets here. You see the reverb models that you can mess with. So you don't also need to a lot of times bring in reverbs from either live as well as you can pull out these knobs. Um, so all of that's really working well, but also like if you really want to customize what the faders are doing, each one allows you to kind of like select what you want and where you want. And one thing that I really like about Arturia is that for me as a producer, the DAW processing or different things like that, where you have to kind of like work through all of your creative energy to get something to sound the way you want it, or customize it to the template that you like. So with all those deadlines, you kind of just want to just jump in or actually. But I just want to go to like a standard piano. So I'm going to go back into the presets and I'm just going to do like a Japanese jazz studio here. And then it's going to sound like this. I'm going to activate these buses here, which are... Okay,
Definitely.
cool. So that's basically one of the new things I want to show you. It says convert to multi. So maybe I want to pair this grand piano. Again, like let's maybe maybe make sure it's recording. Oh yeah, let me hit record. So oh yeah, you have to always record arm these in order. As well as what I like about the piano stuff in comparison to the synth that we were talking about is like, and let's actually open that up, right? So, and you can really tweak all of that stuff, as well as if you scroll down, you can really tune the piano to the way you want, get some velocity curve, again like mic setup, room setup, and then this will be like your master here. And so let's just open this window up on action here. And as you can see, it really starts to tweak some of the hardware of the hammers of your piano. So that'll basically kind of, it looks like it's tuning it. And then maybe you want to tweak the hardness. So that's one of the things at the bottom here. You can see the hammer hardness. So if I wanted to set it to dynamic range, that's an option. So it's almost like a muted pad here. And then now all the way up. You know what I mean? So, all of those, again, are customizable. So you could really tweak this and make this like a totally different, you could probably make it not even sound like a piano at a certain point. As well as different pedal noise, which would be just kind of allowing it to feel more like a real piano. lid position, so it would be like half open or closed or whatever. Um, Slightly open. There you go. Okay, cool. So there's a bunch of that stuff, and then again, you can also open up this parameter, and it'll show you like where microphone placement is, and you can kind of move it to different areas, and get maybe more into the where the strings would be that you would hit, or closer or further, as well as like you can put a stereo delay on it, reverberation. So that would be all the acoustics of like where the piano would be in a room that's simulating. And you can kind of manipulate that in tandem with like your third parties in Logic. But what's great is like if you don't want to do that, and maybe you don't have great third parties and you only have like the stock stuff, it's allowing you to kind of like have those controls in this particular instance. So, and again, I have some open right now, so let me just close these out so you can see uh, more about what they sound like. And let's open that up to more dynamic. And as you can see on the right-hand side, it's this fader here that's manipulating it. So let's do all the way dry. And then you can also increase the room size, so it's like, let's go to 149, just to make it sound real funky. So yeah, but let's keep that, like I usually like to keep it kind of somewhat conservative. And what's great is that you can even just select these and kind of move them around, so it works like a standard EQ. Frequency band would send this left and right. Gain would up and down on how high or how little you want to either increase or take out the sound. And Q is how thin your band is, so how fine your frequency would be. And then you can again like have it be very very high, and so it really works like a standard EQ. And just to show you real quick, this is what Logic's looks like. So it's very similar to the way that's you can shape it, move it up and down, move it left and right. So it's very similar to how that works. So let's actually get that down to 0 again, but that's weird. Okay, cool. So that's basically the piano. And so let's get back to what I was showing you a second ago. I want to pair this with another sound. I think like maybe a string or a pad or something that would allow me to kind of combine the two sounds. So let's go into, let's just type strings, right, into the search bar, and then see what comes up. Now I have pianos activated, so let's get rid of that and unselect it. So now a bunch of stuff should come in. Let's also unselect piano grand. So now we've got 238 presets. Let's do like ambi strings 1, see what happens here, right? So you just gotta, yeah, there it goes, pops it in. Let's get So one thing that's really cool about this is, you can set this to be, if you hit this keyboard settings function here, you see these like green and orange tabs here. They basically set it to a specific side of where the piano is, or where the you can basically split them on the actual KeyLab. So now on the high side, I've got orange, right? So that would be the piano, as indicated by this highlight and then this button here. And then if you go down more, you kind of have control to be able to play two different instruments at once. So, in addition to, again, on the bottom here, you can also see that you still have the same customizable functions of both of these. Part one would be, the piano here, and then part two would be the ambi strings. And as you can see, it kind of activates as which is a live mixer, so you can kind of bring in and mix the two into together so that you can kind of make it sound more cohesive. So and then I'm gonna do. I think this is a cool sound. So let me just see what this sounds like now. I'm gonna probably make the pad here extended more because I think it's all mostly high stuff. But let's see what this sounds like. Hold on one second. With that preset. The intro part, but you can see the change with all that, all those like kind of string pads really like fill the space a little bit more. Um, so another thing is I have all these other tracks. I want to show you a few things. I think this is one that we. This is also Analog Lab on the left. Oh, and just so you guys know, if you want to integrate the sounds, this is kind of the mixer track window. In order to do that, you would go AU Instruments, Arturia, and then here's all of the different sounds. So if you have these, but here's Analog Lab 4, which is what you would use to access it. So that's how you would get to it in Logic. And then same thing with pigments or any of your other kind of like Arturia stuff would be an AU instrument. So this is actually an interesting opportunity to show you because now I've pulled this track up with the other one. So there's two things you can do. On the bottom right here, you have this like maximize view window here. And what that does is that opens up the window a little bit more so it kind of shows you more controls. There's also another way, like say it just doesn't size right. For instance, I'm looking at this from a second screen. You can also resize the window here to different sizes, so it'll kind of manipulate it towards your screen. So yeah, just note that. And but yeah, so this is using pigments. So this organ, let's make sure it's record ready here, right? So pad high, record arm, and go. So yeah, it opens it up. Uh, Plugin that you can use, but here you can actually just hit that same button that I hit earlier to kind of open up and expand. It's just the right button here. Let me just show you again because I did it pretty quick. So this right here, open instrument view, and so this is actually what Pigments looks like. But instead of being in Pigments, now it has full usability um, through Pigments and the KeyLab. So as you can see on the middle here, that little blue timber is moving here. So let's see what that sounds like when I mess with it here. And this time, so it goes back to it. So there's that, and again, all these work in tandem with that. And I honestly feel like Pigments is its own tutorial, and I'm sure you guys have done a few of them on there, and you could really spend hours on how Pigments works. But I'm really here to just show you the functions that Pigments works out of uh, in KeyLab or Analog Lab here. And then again, you can change all of these out, so you can kind of find like what you'd like to work out of in order to customize them to your faders. FX, chorus mix, aging, envelope 2, sustain. So all of these are, programmable, and as well you can just do it with your hands as well. And there's different engines that you can work out of, and you can switch all those out. So this sound right now, let's move this up a bit here. So it sounds like this. So there's that basically. So it's just kind of a high-end pad, and that works in tandem with the other instruments. And then we have a couple other things. Basically, that's kind of like the gist of how it incorporates with some of the different plugins that Arturia offers, as well as with the keyboard. So this one, this is also. Yeah, that's the gist. So I'm gonna like play the track. We're kind of at the 40-minute mark. Ian, is there anything you wanted me to touch on? Maybe actually I could do concert mode too quickly, but is there
Yeah,
anything
just
else
a
that
real
you think
quick on
that
the
you
concert
want me to
mode.
touch on?
I'd say the mixer in the just kind of brief over the mixer options for the effects and the concert mode. Just a couple minutes on those, and I think we're pretty much.
Cool. All right. So concert mode is pretty cool. It's right here. This is just the piano combo thing that I had selected earlier. So let's say you are a live performer, producer, and you want to put together kind of a template that will allow you to quickly access instrumentation that you can just set up for different shows. You hit this, just click it in, and you can just start basically dragging stuff over. So wide strings, and then you can, it'll just make you confirm that you want to do it. You can also just say don't warn me again, and then you just have it ready. It's like right at your disposal here, and it just changed out whatever the string sound was. So, and then 50/50. What does this sound like? See, let me get rid of this Jazz Studio piano real quick. Um, let's see here. So it's just kind of a cool organ there. Let's bring it back to wide string. So you can do that, and you can really like save it. But when you hit, like, let's say you hit go on stage, it opens up this like wider view, so you can really see. It's really the same fader, so cutoff, resonance, LFO, etc. So it's not really doing anything too different. But what it is if you're performing live, you don't have to like microscope in to try to see what you're doing. But yeah, it's really great. And again, all these faders work basically seamlessly as they are activated. And you can also mix effects into them as well. And then I want to show you actually more about that in a different window. But yeah, so let's go back out of that. But just so you know, that's another option that you have. And then what we can also do is add effects here in this mixer here. And so what it's doing is essentially you're bringing up different effects into the window. So you can pop in, let's do something that you can really hear is a flanger. And as I did that, I don't know if you saw, but this pot here activated. So let's do another one too, so you can see. Let's just do reverb, or maybe phaser. It pops it on here, so like this is something you have to open up in order for you to hear the effect. So let's hear it without. Let me go up. Well, now let's hear what without. Let me just open those up real quick. So you have these little on-off switches here, but you kind of hear that it's like phasing in and out, and then you can really customize. Again, it's a stomp pad kind of vibe that also kind of looks like it. And then you also have a second send, which would be here, right? So you could do like distortion, and then it pops this on here. So now it sounds like this. Right here. Yeah, not getting exactly like what I want as far as the layout of this thing. So I could also increase, like I said, the window here. But yeah. Got two different stuff. Waveful. So yeah, that's basically the mixer window. You can also put it on the master of the both of mix both of them in. Let's do reverb for that, and then that would go. Let's just increase the wet signal. Right. A lot of controls. So if you don't have, again, like I said, plugins that are third party or waves or anything like that, this is a solution for you. You can use these as well. Arturia has some great actually plugins like reverbs, like intensity, as well as a few others like a delay. Straightforward. And again, like I said, I'm gonna put back that piano that I had, and then I'll just play the track for you, and I think that'll wrap it, so you guys can hear kind of what I've been working on. Pianos, and let's get rid of the search bar here, so let's clear it, and then we can go down to the Japanese jazz studio. I think is what we had before. Oops, here, hold on. Cool. Wait. There we go. Okay, cool. So what does that sound like now? Roll it. So I'm gonna try to take down. I don't really necessarily love this sound, so let's just do strings and just put something simple. Let's try that. Cool. And then we'll go to Japanese jazz pianos. Clear all. And then I'm going to try to put that back in there. There we go. Here it is. There it is. So it loads it in. So what does that sound like? Cool. That's cool for now. And now I'm going to activate my buses, which has some different kind of reverb going on there. And then let's just play the track, and then you can kind of hear it all come together. All of these MIDI tracks are basically using Analog Lab, whether it's pigments or whatever. And then I do have some like actual audio in there, so like a horn and I think a guitar and a bass. So those are not with them, but you can kind of see how they work with actual audio recording. So. Cool. Did you guys hear that okay?
Yeah, man.
Sweet. So that's basically it. I think we hit the 53 mark. Do we have any questions or anything?
We have one. Let's go ahead and ask everybody to ask a question if you could. If they could. Q and A. Please, 1 second here.
Hey, also, if Ian, if you want me to go into any more detail regarding something, I'm happy to do that. Just let me know.
Okay. So yeah, one of the coolest features that I like about the whole Analog Lab software, it's the simplest thing. It sounds maybe super minuscule, but it's a shuffle mode. A lot of synths out there I've been producing for quite some time, and I've grown to understand that when you get a synth and you have the same list, and you go to your synths and you have the same 1 through 200, it's exactly the same list. So sometimes you start from the bottom, sometimes you start from the middle, sometimes you start from the top, and some softwares don't have a shuffle mode. And what I
Right.
love
You're always in
about
the A's or whatever.
yeah, and I
Yeah.
like to hit the shuffle mode with everything involved. Sometimes I'll have the whole 10,000 sound collection and hit shuffle. And I'll never know what's coming next. It could be a Prophet, could be a Matrix 12, could be a pad, could be a lead. And that way I make stuff that I don't know what's coming up next. I don't have to know exactly what's coming up. Of course you can. You can go to
Yeah.
types, you can go to styles, you can select where you want to go, but
See
or
this here,
sometimes you
right?
want to
You
create
guys can see
something.
this.
That's right. That's the one.
So this is the button here, and
Magical
then
button.
it shifts it. And if you notice, I did it twice. Let's look at like Foxy's first. Now it's back to the standard, and then now it's sourdough bread. So and that's just pianos. If I got rid of the pianos, um, so every time you do it, it would basically change it to. And you can also do like by designer, by bank, by instrument, by name. So that would, I'll see how it's 1 1 1 1 1. So let's shuffle it one more time. Escape. So yeah, I mean that's a great function. As well, you can favorite, right? So you can
Right. The
hit
heart.
I love
Hmm.
this sound, and then you can keep that, especially again if you're building concerts or live performances. That way you're not lost in the weeds, trying to find a sound that you like a lot that you know have to go through or whatever. So
Right.
featured, cool.
Okay, so we got some questions here.
Yeah.
When I'm looking on my Facebook chat feed, Randy asked an interesting question as far as using a Yamaha sustain pedal. How do you create? How do you make it work? Because a lot of sustain pedals don't work with Yamahas. They work with Korg, or they work with the different polarities that are available. That's a really good question because I don't know if there's a way. Probably in the MIDI control center, I'd have to look at it to see where you can select a different polarity. And I apologize, Randy, I don't know exactly how that's done. I know I have a switch on my sustain pedal that allows me to switch with everything, but Yamahas are very nice sustain pedals, and I can understand why you'd want to use one. Not on the board itself. I don't know if you can select it. I'd have to look at that. I've never had to do that because I've always had a switchable sustain pedal. So, do you happen to know, Hunter, at all, or what kind of sustain
No,
pedal are
I
you
don't have a
using?
Yamaha. I have an M Gear. It looks like, and it was for me. It was just plug and play. So maybe there's a way that they can put in like a request on the chat in Arturia or something like that, like one of
Yeah,
the or
I can try and find out, Randy, and get back to you on the chat here. After this, I'll ask our developers over in France and get their take on how that's possible because I'd like to know as well. Um, Ben also asked, how do you save a template as user one, user two? Are you familiar with
oh
that, Hunter?
in I think he's referring to in the MIDI control center. Is
Yeah,
that correct?
yeah,
So I think that what you saw was um, yeah. Well, okay. So let me share this one more time.
sure. Go ahead.
See. I just popped open the MIDI control center that you just saw. I want to say you're referring to this. Is that, I don't know if you can say yes or no to that, but
Looks right.
these are auto generated. So um, that was already in place. And I think that allows you to kind of. So what I did was I built something in here, which you would go down to the new function, create a new template, and just put like new test one, right? And then now you have the ability to kind of manipulate all these the way you want them by like clicking them, and then like again you can change the color or whatever, right? So now what you would do, the way it worked for me was you can just click this thing and then drag it to the user, and then it'll say save, right? And then that's how you would do it. And then so whatever is activated, it would then activate. So and then you can sync the item based on or you can kind of basically do it in that regard. Uh, but that should be kind of how it works. Um, and then you can save presets and things like that too. So you can save that new test as, and then that will oops, escape, as well as import and export out to your computer hard drive. So
You can also, if you go back into that, I want to just show something really quickly.
yeah,
I
I
don't know if
didn't
we
mean to do
touched
that.
on
Sorry.
the problem. Go
Video.
into device settings. That's where you select Logic.
Yep,
And
right
see right
here.
there, DAW map. That's where you select all your different DAWs that are involved in that. So you select it in the Huey, I think or MkII control, universal control in Logic to set up the
Yep.
DAW keyboard. and then you go into the MIDI control center to also select Logic. This is all in the tips and tricks of the
Yes.
Arturia website. If you search tips and
So
tricks
let's just
KeyLab.
show that real quick then, I guess. So that would be where you select it and save. Make sure you save it. And then the other one is under Control Surfaces, Setup,
Right.
and then you would add a new device. Right now I have it, and then this is the one you'd want to select. So let's just open it up.
A MkII control is
Install.
like a universal control, which a ton of controllers use. It's a newer controller kind
Yeah.
of, so they don't think it's in the Logic list. So you have to use the
There
MkII
are some
control
Arturias,
universal.
but it won't work the way you want it to. But yeah, if you do
Yeah,
MkII Control,
they have to update the
MkII
script still.
Designs, MkII Control here, you then add it. And then, oh, one thing that was confusing that you have to do is make sure that you have advanced um, advanced windows. Where is that file? I want to say it's under preferences.
Or is it
Yeah,
in the
advanced tools.
Oh, okay,
See
yeah.
this advanced tools here? If you don't have that clicked in, these won't show up. So you wouldn't be able to click in like MkII control here and make it go. You see how the key, you have to make sure that these outputs are KeyLab 49
Right.
and
Duh.
KeyLab 49 for
Right.
DAW, and that will affect your transport controls. So let me just show you what that looks like. So if you don't go into preferences, advanced tools, and then all of these need to be clicked in. Earlier when I set it up a few weeks ago, these were not selected, so I didn't see this window on the left here. So make sure they're
Mm.
selected, and then try to go back into it, and then all of this stuff will pop up for you, and then that will give you the access to show what devices. So I have a Scarlett and the KeyLab plugged in right now. So it shows those devices that are being registered um, to your particular like USB ports or whatever you're using them. So that's
Cool.
a good question though. So that's how you would make sure that the transports will work with Logic or whatever DAW you have. But in this case, we're working with Logic. So I'm sure Ableton will have its own like mapping setup and as well as Pro Tools.
Cool, man. Well, great. I think that kind of concludes. Unless anybody has any other questions, I don't know. I want to thank you for coming up and showing us this magical presentation of this amazing software. I mean, I'm using it every day for the last I don't know how many years, and it keeps expanding and they keep adding stuff, and um, an amazing platform for something that has over 8,000 sounds
Yeah.
in the
No, I,
in the
I
V collection.
appreciate it, man. This is kind of a dream come true working with you guys. And again, I use it all the time as well. And I'm constantly surprised by two things. One is how intuitive the thing works with just any DAW or any MIDI controller, but this specifically is like a whole new bag of tricks. And as well, just like the sounds so authentic where I have a number of plugins that are third party, but I find myself going back to this a lot just because of its user friendliness and ease to find. And, again, pigments is a whole nother thing in terms of
Yeah, I know.
customizability. And when you're
It's a
looking at
beast.
how the user interface works with, like let's say like parameter EQs or parametric EQs or things like that, it shows you visually as opposed to working with just pots and faders.
Right.
Um, so that is very helpful because you're not guessing anymore, you're watching. And so, especially when you get into like pigments and other things like that. So,
Yeah.
very happy to work with you guys and, hopefully we can do some more cool stuff in the future.
Yeah, definitely. And just to reiterate
So,
again, this the power browser, what we like to call it sometimes for collection. You don't have to go into every synth. You're going to get all 24 instruments in the collection individually because people want to go. I want to get the Matrix 12. I want to get the Prophet, or just that. But the Analog Lab allows you to have everything in one software. The processor doesn't take more power. It's just a software that allows you to do everything in it. So you go into there as your main browser. And edit your sounds from there, and you can tweak everything as you could have going into the individual instruments. But that's what we have to offer today. Any greetings from Chile? Nice. All right, guys. Well, thank you, Ben. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, Roberto. You guys have a great day. Thank you, Hunter.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and
You guys
any
can follow me on
questions?
Instagram at can the number one live can one live, and then you can kind of see some of the music I'm putting out, or
Nice.
more of these demos probably coming soon as well. So, um, yeah, just reach out on Instagram there. At can one live is the thing. So
Can one live? Okay. Well, thank you, Hunter. And we'll go ahead and conclude now. And any questions you got, just go ahead and feel free to add to the chat, and we'll respond. Okay. Let's make it happen. All right. Take care, guys.
cheers.
1 second here.